Pronounce it. Well, I'm making up words now. That's what I do, baby.
And that's how we're starting the show. We're starting the show with Jake making up a new word. All right, we are live again, back on the Wisco Fanatics show. I'm not coughing quite as much as I was last week, so hopefully I can get through the whole show without having, sounding like I'm dying of asthma and emphysema at the same time. But we're going to jump right in. We're going to be talking about the Packers today. We're going to be talking about the Bucks. I did what I could to find out some information for what's going on with the Bucks and what's going to kind of happen going forward with that. We got a lot to talk about with the Packers, and then we're going to talk Bucks and Badgers basketball. So we're going to jump right into it with Packers 3 stars of the game. Jake, give me your 3 stars. There's a lot of options here, and I actually have 3 honorable mentions, so I kind of cheated a little bit.
I know, dude. I was really looking at them all, and I was just like, damn, man, this is getting tough, dude. So my 3rd star is Devonte Adams. I mean, what haven't we said about this dude? He's the best route runner in the league. He's the best deep threat in the league. He's the best short. Yeah, he is. He's the best short guy in the league. He's the best medium route runner in the league. He's got great hands. He's everything. He had 10 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. That first touchdown he had was absolutely dirty when he juked inside and the 2 Bears players took each other out. I was like, oh, my God. I was standing up. I mean, I was at the game, so I was talking crap with Bears fans all the time. They were really cool, though. Bears fans are cool. I respect Bears fans. You could talk shit with them, and they'll talk shit back. But at the end of the day, we respect each other, you know? So I'm dapping them up. I'm like, hey, man, I respect you. It's all cool. It's just part of the game. It is what it is. Like, Justin Fields will have his day eventually, maybe 5-6 years from now if Jordan Love doesn't turn out. But we'll see what's going on. My 2nd star, I actually have 2 people. I could not pick one. I couldn't separate them. First one is Devons Ray Campbell. Dude, 16 tackles, 9 solo. He shut down the run by himself. You know, I was talking I'm a Pepsi merch, so I talk to the receivers all the time. And I was talking to the receiver at one of my accounts, and I was just telling him, I was just like, man, Devonte Campbell's just a beast, man. He cleans up all that junk over the middle that we've been missing for years. Those runs that turned into 40-yard runs, that turned into 15-yard runs, that turned in, there's a 3rd and 5, and they end up getting 6 yards. He just washes all that stuff out of there. He can cover the running backs out of the backfield. He neutralizes the tight end for the most part. Like, he's amazing. And my 2nd one was Rasul Douglas. The timeline of the game, Rasul Douglas pick 6 in the first half was absolutely massive. It was the little glimmer of momentum that we had for probably, I would say, a good stretch of time. That was the only momentum that we had, and that really kept us in the game, I thought. And my number 1 star is the GOAT, the BOAT, whatever acronym you want to use for him. Aaron frickin' Rodgers, dude. 29 of 37. Are you frickin' kidding me? 29 of 37? Ugh! And stop mocking the belt. Seriously, Jesus Christ. When are these guys going to... When are they going to learn? When are you going to learn? Honestly. At one point, it's kind of like it's like one of those stories that you tell your kids, right? That, I'll tell my grandkids, like, man, Aaron Rodgers at this celebration when I was a young guy. And whenever people used to make fun of it, he would go off for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And they're like, really, Grandpa? I'm like, yeah, man, I watched him with my own eyes. It's just, I don't understand. I know, the same guy, Robert Quinn.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't understand why you mock it. I mean, I understand because it looks cool, but Jesus Christ, these people are got to learn at some point, I guess. But they didn't learn this last week, and I sure hope that the Ravens don't do it because then Rodgers is going to have to murder people in Baltimore.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Ravens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But for me, my 3 stars, my number 3, I had 2. I put Devonte and Allen Lazard together. I had to wear the Allen Lazard jersey today to show love to Allen Lazard. I think he's back. Makes it really look like the last 2 games, he just wasn't 100% healthy. Is really what that made that look like. So, you already rattled off all the Devonte stats. Allen Lazard had 6 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown, and also a 14-yard run. They actually ran Allen Lazard on an end around, and it actually that gained like 14 yards. So, I had those 2 as my number 3. My number 2 star was Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I can't say anything that Jake hasn't already said about him. And then my number one was Rasul Douglas. He's in a situation where we are without so many players, one of them being the best cornerback in the league. And then we get Rasul Douglas off of a practice squad. And it's like, okay, we just need some depth, And then he turns out to be arguably a Pro Bowler at this point. I mean, if you look at the NFC and cornerbacks, I mean, you could really have Rasul Douglas as a potential Pro Bowler. He's a back-to-back pick sixes. He won the Cardinals game. I mean, if I have to really look at it, but I mean, if you're looking at cornerbacks, I mean, Trayvon Diggs is probably going to be a Pro Bowler just because he has the high interception numbers. But I mean, looking at what Rasul Douglas has meant for the Packers, I mean, you got to give Gutekunst so much credit for finding him. Jake and I were talking before the show about our 3 stars, and I let him know. I'm like, I have 3 honorable mentions. One of my honorable mentions was Devons Ray Campbell, just because the 16 tackles. He's arguably a Pro Bowler too. Matt LaFleur mentioned that in his post game or his press conference yesterday. That Devonte Ray Campbell is a Pro Bowler in his opinion. My next honorable mention, another linebacker, was Preston Smith. Had the 2 sacks. He had the strip sack on Justin Fields that set up the Packers to score their second touchdown in the third quarter. And then my last honorable mention was Mercedes Lewis. We'll talk about him a little bit more when we get into the Packers offense, but Mercedes Lewis was very helpful in this game. So let's move in. Let's talk about the Packers offense. I don't know if you just want to kind of go through the game or if you just want to talk about things individually, specifically plays. But let's talk about the Packers offense.
Well, first of all, you mentioned Big Dog. That was his most receiving yards since he became a Packer, 51. He had that big, long catch on the right side. He got tackled right away, but it was like, man, if that guy misses that tackle, that guy was legitimately at shoe level, by the way, to tackle him. I don't know if you remember how low that guy was, but he was not taking him up high. He was basically smelling the grass at that point. So, anyways, he had a great game. I thought that was awesome to point out. I told you earlier today, I was like, dude, Allen Lazard, I hope he's one of your stars. That's your boy. He needs a lot of love. He was pretty much the first player out there, by the way. He was kicking a soccer ball with the fans towards the south end zone, so I thought that was pretty cool. He's a fan favorite around here. Everybody loves Allen Lazard, and he had a very, very nice route that he ran on that touchdown where he looked like he was going to block and he went inside right away. Oh my God, that was beautiful to watch.
That's one of like the things where it comes into like a versatility type thing where he does a lot of things and he does a lot of dirty work that opens things up for him. Like they ran a couple like pick plays with him where they'd have Devonte Adams just right across the line of scrimmage and Lazard would just kind of look like he's going to run a route and then he'd wait for Devonte to have the ball and then boom, he's blocking. That's a scheme thing too, and you put Allen Lazard into those positions, and he's a great blocking wide receiver. So you get those positions, and that just all that does is help Devonte. So those things. That's part of the reason why I put them as co-third stars because those two, they can work together so well in that offense. Obviously, if the Packers were to go and get like a Keenan Allen or something like that, that would be amazing for their offense, but. The dynamic that an Allen Lazard and Devonte Adams can have in the short game, as well as potentially in the long game, like we have some things to say about Devonte Adams when it comes to the long game. I'm thinking Jake might have the same thing to say that I do, but
probably do,
but yeah, I mean, to your point, Allen Lazard is versatile, and that's paying dividends in a game like this.
The thing about the Packers wide receivers, and everybody says that we need to draft them, and at some point we are going to need to draft them. But, you have Devontae. He's the best receiver in the league. He does everything, right?
Yes.
You have Allen Lazard. He could be your short game guy, your dirty deeds guy, your slant route guy. You have MVS. He's your take the top off the defense guy. Cobb comes in. He does a little bit of everything. He's your wide receiver screen guy, slant guy. He's the guy that gets open. He gets open on third down, right, for Aaron Rodgers, on that second move. And then the tight ends, you have a room full of guys that are veterans and know what they need to do, and Big Dog's leading them all. And then to wrap it all up, you have 2 very good running backs. A.J. Dillon's just pounding people, and Aaron Jones is starting to get a little bit better. He looked like he was running a little bit faster. He tripped up on that one run he had, but he looked like he was running a little bit more smooth, in my opinion. So he's going to only get healthier as the season goes on. They're going to keep resting him a little bit and just let A.J. Dillon take some of his snaps. And they're going to work together. And then to bring it all together, you have the best quarterback in the league right now, Aaron Rodgers, who had his third straight 300-yard game. It would be 4, but he only ended with 292 pass yards versus Seattle. Otherwise, he'd have 4 straight. But 3 straight 100-yard games. He had 341. He had 141 rating. I mean, the guy was dealing. The guy was dealing, man. So he was just amazing, I thought, in my opinion. I wanted to say a little stat about LaFleur against the Bears, since he's kind of the offensive guy. He has never lost to the Chicago Bears. He is 6-0 versus the Chicago Bears.
Nice.
That is a stat. I got an Aaron Rodgers stat for you. This is one of the contenders for stat of the week for your boy. This is a good one. Oh, man, this is so mean. Okay, so this is the whole Super Bowl era, right? Talking 60s. Games with 4+ touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears. He has 7 games of 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. All of the Bears quarterbacks in the history since the Super Bowl era. This is not just versus the Packers. Everybody. 6 games of 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Think about that. You want to talk about owning somebody, dude? Holy shit, right? How's that for a stat, baby?
Yeah, that's a franchise. That's literally a franchise ownership stat. That's nuts.
That's bad. That's bad. I'm gonna let you say the Devonte stat though. I'm sure you have the same one.
All right, so the stat that I have for Devonte, Jake mentioned that he's the best deep threat in the NFL, and Devonte Adams leads the NFL in catches of 30+ yards this year. So that's the stat that I have for Devonte. That actually wasn't my stat. That's not my stat. All right, well, drop another one.
Okay. So, Devonte Adams hasn't dropped a 20+ yards on the field. He hasn't dropped one of those passes since week 5 of 2018.
Damn.
He has 90 consecutive catches.
Damn.
On 20+ yards. That's crazy, right?
That's awesome.
That's nuts, bro. I was like, no, bro. 10 more, he gets to 100 straight. Like that's crazy, dude. Like
that's disgusting.
Yeah, that's. Wow. He's everybody's daddy.
So, I have one complaint involving Devonte Adams, and it was the pass interference call. That I really thought it was going to be defensive pass interference, much less to be offensive pass interference, because there was a play earlier in the game where Rasul Douglas went for a pass breakup. He got flagged for pass interference. Like, he went for the ball. Like, where is there interference there? And they didn't replay it. So it seemed to me like they were kind of trying to sweep it under the rug a little bit. Like, no, don't replay it. Because normally they'll replay penalties and stuff all the time.
Yeah,
and they didn't with that one. So I'm like, oh, they didn't replay that. They must not have wanted that scene more.
I'll tell you what. They showed it in Lambeau. They showed that motherfucker in Lambeau. And you know what I yelled, dude? Not that they were going to hear me up in the 300 section. I was like, they wouldn't even call that at my 8-year-old stepson's football game. That was so soft, bro. All the Packers fans were like, dude, that was soft. Dude, he like clipped his fingernail.
He was going for the ball.
Directly going for the ball.
Yeah. That's
I have no idea.
One of those things where like the NFL, the pass interference rule is supposed to be that the cornerback has the right to make a play on the ball.
He has the right for that room.
Yeah. It's not an issue of early contact if he's making a play on the ball. If the ball is coming and he's grabbing arms or something like that, that's pass interference. But if he's going to make a play on the ball, that's not pass interference.
I don't know. That was so weak, bro.
Moving back to the one called on Adams, then at that point it's the contact comes before the ball, which would be a defensive pass interference issue. And then it seemed like Adams was just trying to push off to break away from the interference that was occurring on him.
Yep.
So at that point, if you're going to call anything, call nothing.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought.
That's the only thing that I had as far as Devonte Adams is concerned negatively, I guess. What I wanted to say, actually, I'll save that for the preview. But what I want to say, talking about the offense, is Josiah DeGuara is getting better every week. I'd have to look back at my notes to find out which week that I was unimpressed with him. I think it was the week after we lost Tunyon. His route running seemed a little off, but then the next week he scored his first career touchdown, and now he's getting involved a lot more, and he's making some big plays. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from Josiah DeGuara, and he's improving every week. So that is a very nice thing to see as we're getting nearer to the postseason.
He's definitely getting his legs under him, I'll say. He's getting more comfortable on the field. I think he's, I shouldn't say he's getting his legs under him. He's getting more used to the contact and the physicality of the NFL, catching up to the speed a little bit. Because remember, he got hurt pretty early in his rookie season, so he's still kind of catching up. But yeah, he's and you have a guy like Big Dog, man. I mean, that guy. What kind of leader can you ask for? I mean, everybody talks about how impressed they are with Tom Brady being 44 and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Why are we not impressed with Big Dog? He plays a physical position, and he's been at this for a long time now, man. I remember him on Madden 2005, dude.
I think he's in his 17th season.
He's 17 or 18 or something like that. He's been around for a long time, dude.
I'll look it up.
But what better leader could you ask for, really? I mean, and then you got Aaron Rodgers telling you what to do. I think he's been improving a lot lately.
Let's look up.
So,
Mercedes.
Oh God, I can't wait to ask you these questions, dude, that I have on here, because I just want to know what you're gonna say, man. It's gonna be interesting.
Selected in the 2006 NFL draft, so he's in his 16th season, I guess.
Yeah, the year after Rodgers.
Yep. All right, so a couple of other things I want to say about the offense is just the second half. It looked like execution-wise, they were just 1,000 times better, honestly. They scored some points in the second quarter, which actually that second quarter was the highest scoring quarter in Packers-Bears rivalry history. 42 points. So, highest scoring points in quarter in Packers-Bears history. So, oh God, that's a disgusting stat too. The first half, the Bears had 213 special teams yards.
Yeah, I had that written down. I didn't even want to say it because I'm still pissed
off. That's gross. What I want to say is starting the second half, they really just marched the ball really, really well. A.J. Dillon turning 4-yard gains into 8-yard gains. Amari Rodgers getting some good blocks, and then Lazard going and hyping him up right away. That's encouraging to see is some of the chemistry stuff. Not that I'm concerned about chemistry on the Packers, but just continuing to build that. Chemistry turns into culture. So you bring in guys who are happy to be here. They show guys that they're happy to be here when new guys come in, and that's where chemistry turns into culture. I just made that up totally off the top of my head. And it's happening with the other teams in Wisconsin, where chemistry is turning into culture. It's happened with the Bucks, and it's happening with the Brewers. We'll see if it turns into the Brewers getting more free agents in the future, but right now Major League Baseball is in a lockout, so that's a whole down the road. We'll have to talk about that. But Lazard hyping up Amari Rodgers is something good to see. We talked about this last week about how 4 yards a carry gets you a first down every time, and they did it one drive. It was later in the game. They went 4 yards with Aaron Jones, 4 yards with A.J. Dillon, and then a pass to Devonte, and it was a first down. That's just efficient, and you really, all the guys that Jake mentioned before. I mean, you can't beat that. You really can't. No. I gotta say too, on Aaron Jones's receiving touchdown, that pass, that was just an absolute dime. Rodgers is so locked in, it's unreal, and he's gotta be top 2 in MVP right now.
Well, interesting you say that. I actually have the odds for MVP right down.
All right.
He actually didn't know this for anybody who's watching this. Rodgers is second in the MVP right now behind Tom Brady.
Nailed it.
Tom Brady's plus 150 and Rodgers is plus 500. So,
Okay.
Right. Brady's got a pretty good lead on him.
All right. Well, I said top 2 and he's 2, so I'll take that. I also want to give Gutekunst credit for offensive line depth. We talked about this last week, and we're probably going to talk about it every single week. Bakhtiari is back to practice today. We'll talk about that in the preview a little bit more. But Billy Turner goes down in this game, and the Packers really didn't miss a beat. They really didn't. And Josh Nijman filling in for Elton Jenkins, who was filling in for Bakhtiari. Royce Newman being a rookie. I mean, Lucas Patrick playing the center position, and John Runyon being a second-year player. I mean, the offensive line depth on this team is nuts, and the offensive line coach deserves a lot of credit as well as Gutekunst.
Yeah.
And then the Packers using the Bears' over-aggressiveness against them at points. Matt LaFleur talked about a lot of run-pass option plays that they ran. Rodgers doing the fake handoff to A.J. Dillon, and all the Bears biting on it, and then he got a pass to Devonte for a first down. How about the fake handoff where Aaron Rodgers handed it off and then just kind of jogged?
Bro.
And then, he still has the ball and throws a touchdown.
What kind of smooth criminal is Aaron Rodgers? Seriously, bro. Seriously, dude. This guy is a stud. His fake handoff game is 99 easily. No question about it, man.
I think Chris Collinsworth was a little more excited than he sounded even in the booth.
Probably was. Oh my god. Yeah, he probably was. I wouldn't doubt it.
So just there was good play calling, smooth offense, just great playmaking by the playmakers on this team. More guys are stepping up, like mentioning Mercedes Lewis and Josiah DeGuara stepping up. Devonte Adams, he's the best in the league. Lazard seems to be back from his injury. MVS, they worked him in just a little bit. And then A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. I mean, looking at the second half offense and even to the second quarter, it really seems like the Packers are starting to pick up steam heading towards the playoffs. And that's what we talked about last year with the Bucks, was they were heading in their steam into the postseason, and that's where it felt like they were really ready to make a run. So that's what I'm looking for with the Packers here. So I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say about the offense besides the one play where A.J. Dillon showed really great patience, where he ran into the wall, just kind of ducked, took a couple steps back, and then ran out for a 12-yard gain, I think it was.
No, I didn't. Nothing.
All right, let's talk about the defense. What do you want to say about the Packers' defense?
So, everybody was freaking out right at halftime because the Bears had 27 points. And even at the stadium, man, the Bears fans, they were chirping first half, man, where I went with my buddy Alex, our buddy Alex. We were sitting in 352, that south end zone, pretty much straight up. And the first row in that section was literally littered with Bears fans. And the section over, 354, there was a bunch of Bears fans sitting up higher, and they were all kind of together. They all knew each other because they kept turning around and celebrating and all this stuff, right? They were going crazy. I want to tell you the first 4 drives of the second half for the Chicago Bears when they weren't starting at 50-yard line. Okay?
Yeah.
2 plays, 1 yard. That was the sack fumble, right?
Yep.
Next drive, 3 plays, 4 yards. Oh, there was negative 1 yard on the first drive. The next drive, 3 plays, negative 1 yard. The fourth drive, 3 plays, 5 yards. They ran 11 plays in their first 4 drives and got 7 freaking yards. 7.
So did you hear about halftime?
What about halftime?
Preston Smith.
Oh, Preston Smith, yeah.
He's the fire-up guy at halftime. So Matt LaFleur, he says his piece, and then he leaves the locker room, and it's usually either Preston Smith or Mercedes Lewis that fires the locker room back up. And this week it was Preston Smith. Preston Smith, all of last season, had 29 quarterback pressures.
Yep.
He has 29 pressures in the last 4 games.
Dude, oh my God. Okay. I got to say this now. Now I got to say this part. Okay, I'm going to give you a stat, and then I'm going to tell you a conversation I had. Okay. The Green Bay Packers have 271 pressures this year. That is 4th most in the NFL.
Yep.
That's my defensive stat for the week. So, this is kind of a conversation piece. You could say what you got to say after I say my part. But we were comparing the defenses from this year and last year, right? And somebody was telling me, person A was telling me that, we had a top 10 defense last year. Defense wasn't the problem. It wasn't the reason we lost an NFC Championship game. They got 3 interceptions on Brady. I'm like, listen, buddy, this is all I'm going to say to you, okay? This is all I'm going to say to you. That defense from last year was never, ever winning the game in Arizona under the circumstances that they were under. No. Never, ever. We would have got our asses whooped last year. They were not good against the run last year. That was falsified stats on that part. People could just throw on us when we were jacking up to stop the run. I mean, it was pretty easy to figure out. You saw in the NFC Championship game, Brady kind of dinked and dunked his way, and then as soon as we came up, he took his shots. And then we were dead, right? That's what happened. Yeah, they got the couple turnovers because we have talented players and they got to the quarterback, but this defense this year is real. It's a real defense.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's complete.
It's a whole different level. Like, Kevin King was easily our second best corner last year.
He's our
maybe
4th?
Maybe Sullivan at times. But yeah, he's definitely our 4th.
Yeah.
He's definitely our 4th now. And that's crazy. Yeah. That Eric Stokes is probably our 3rd or 2nd best because Rasul Douglas has been out of his mind. But people don't throw at Stokes. So that's where people forget about him. We get Jair back.
That's what I say. I told you that. I told people that. Stokes' profile is similar to Jair. But continue.
We get Jair and Stokes in the field at the same time, and somebody was talking about that in a Packers group, and I was like, talk about no-fly zone. You don't want to throw at either of these guys. Now you have no choice.
Dude, you can line up 3 wide. Dude, look at this. This is the Tampa Bay. Let's do the Tampa Bay discussion. Somebody wants to say, the Packers still need to beat Tampa Bay. Let them line up Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown across from Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, and Rasul Douglas with Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage behind them. You're going to tell me that's the same offense or the same situation as lining up Jair Alexander, Kevin King, and Tramon Williams against those 3?
Oh, yeah, I forgot we had Tramon last year.
Yeah.
Forgot we picked him up late.
37-year-old Tramon Williams?
Yeah, that's how much we trusted Kevin King last year. Yeesh.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not trying to bash Kevin.
Defenses last year?
Kevin has looked good for us this year, but last year
he's been better. But
come on,
maybe it's because he's on a contract year. But I'm not willing to pay him another $6 million next year.
I mean, I just think this scheme is just worlds better.
Yeah,
we have to give credit to LaFleur again because after the first game. He went up to Barry and he was like, listen, you're going to blitz or you're going to play coverage. You're going to pick one of those son of bitches, and that's what you're going to go with. I'm sure there were other words that were exchanged. Maybe it was nicer. But if you ever listen to Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, he talks about how Matt runs a little hot sometimes. So I'm not sure how he talks when he's hot-headed. So that's all I'm saying. And I wanted to tell you, because we were talking about Coach of the Year, I wanted to say this, that LaFleur is actually 3rd right now in Coach of the Year voting. He's behind Kingsbury. Yeah. He's behind Kingsbury and Belichick. Belichick is 1st right now. Kingsbury's 2nd. But Cliff might be falling down now because of the news with DeAndre out for the rest of the regular season.
They're 500 at home. The Cardinals are 3-3 at home.
I know.
And the Patriots aren't good at home either. So you're either just ignoring that or you're giving them extra credit for being good on the road.
No, I think Belichick, they're giving him credit for winning with a rookie.
For having a rookie quarterback. I understand that, and I really whatever. We'll have this discussion again in 2 or 3 weeks. As far as going to paying Kevin King, if they want to bring him back on like a vet minimum, sure. But I don't want to be throwing another $6 million Kevin King's way next year. Rasul Douglas is only 26, so he could just be entering a prime here, or in say the second year of a prime. So I mean, if we can figure out a way to have Rasul Douglas here for 3 years or so, that would be. You're talking about locking up a no-fly zone for potentially a good while, because the Packers, they're going to work on extending Jair. That's going to happen. So, talking about the defense, I mentioned on the offense, Josiah DeGuara has been improving. On the defense, Chris Barnes is improving. It seems like every week he's getting better too. His tackling is improving, and his tackling from last year to this year, it's night and day.
Yeah.
Last year, I felt like every single game last year we talked about the Packers needing to be better at tackling. And I think I've only said that once this year, that the Packers need to improve in tackling.
Probably.
So, Chris Barnes is part of that. Devonte Ray Campbell is a massive part of that. And then, we've given him credit, but we got to give Kenny Clark more credit. Because he's done everything you could ask a nose tackle to do. And then, later in the game, he's making tackles on a mobile quarterback. He literally just kept two linemen on each arm and waited for Justin Fields to run up to him, and then stepped over and tackled Justin Fields.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. That was one thing I had a problem with this week, is how many weeks have we talked about how the improved rush game is at when they rush, they're not just rushing past these guys, they're keeping them contained at the same time. And this week it felt like they kind of let up on that, at least in the first half for a while, because Justin Fields was going wide open up the middle for how many yards he wanted, really.
It seemed like they were just a couple steps late on a lot of those plays, and I think this is honestly, as much as it pains me to say it, I think we got to give Justin Fields some credit for that, because it seems like a guy like Kyler Murray wanted to stay in the pocket that extra second just to try to see if he could get a throw, and it seems like Justin Fields, as soon as the pocket was collapsing, he wanted to take off. He didn't want to throw. And if Lamar Jackson plays, it's going to be the same thing. He wants to run before he throws, I feel. So that's something where the Packers are going to have to keep the contain a little bit better. Keep the offensive line looking like this, not like this.
Yeah.
So that's, you don't want to give that space.
You got to contain your rush lane at the end of the day. I got to say, dude.
For a quarterback that wants to run first, that's something that needs to be done better.
I got to say something. So, they introduced the defense this game, right, to start the game. And, oh, man, watching Tyler Lancaster haul ass out of the damn tunnel was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. You ever seen a refrigerator with little mini legs running? That's what it looked like. Oh, man, that shit was funny. I'm sorry. Anyways, nobody was cheering for Lancaster. I was like, oh, come on, guys, he's a Packer. Anyways, the defense, they were very much better in the second half. I'll say that.
Yes, yeah, much, much better. No penalties in the second half, which is always good to hear. All right, we got to do it. We have to talk about special teams.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not talking about special teams. I refuse to get stressed out again. I'm just not doing it. Go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Hold on to the ball. Just hold on to the ball, and then every time you kick it, just kick it straight to the back of the end zone. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're a punter or a kicker or whatever. Just kick it through the back of the end zone. I mean, I trust Bojorquez in the long run to put some inside the 20, but he shanked a couple punts this week, which is kind of a bummer. But Crosby, seriously, dude, just act like you're kicking field goals. Just send them through. Just send them through the uprights. Just send them through the uprights.
Okay. So one of my questions is actually about special teams. So I'm just going to ask it right now. what changes need to be made to fix the special teams? I'm talking the kick coverage. I'm talking punt coverage. I'm talking punt returning. Like, are you talking, there was talks about personnel changes maybe. Like, where are you leaning if you're the head coach of the Green Bay Packers?
For me, and I wrote this down, it's back to the drawing board. That's all it is. It's back to the drawing board. That's all I can say. Is back to the drawing board. That's all I can do. Like you blow it up, you go back to the drawing board.
Man, we're in a situation where we're a month away from playoff football, and you're having these kind of issues where you can't even trust a guy to go catch a fair catch on a punt, dude.
I don't know. And then the other thing with that too is MVS fumbling the kickoff, the onside kick, and oh god, it sucks that I even have to say this, but it reminded me of Brandon Bostic, except it bounced off of his hands, not his helmet. So I don't know what the deal is there.
I swear to God, the Packers special teams is just cursed, dude. It feels like that,
I don't know
if
that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, a couple last few things I want to say is the Packers need to work on defending mobile quarterbacks. If you need 3 to 5 yards, Devonte Adams from Aaron Rodgers on a bootleg is absolutely unstoppable. Like, it seems like even when they're on the right hash mark, they can run a bootleg to the right side, and Aaron Rodgers will still complete a 5-yard pass to Devonte Adams.
Right.
And then, the last thing I want to say is Aaron Rodgers' ability to throw on the run and throw off balance and throw with sometimes no feet on the ground, that's helping him through his toe injury. So that's thankfully something that's working in the Packers' favor. So that's the last things that I have to say with that.
All right. I'm going to ask my other 2 questions now because I want to know what you think.
All right. We'll go here. We'll go to Jake's Q&A.
Jake's Q&A. Okay. So, my first question. Did you watch this is like a 2-parter. Did you watch Rodgers on Pat McAfee?
I did not.
Okay. So, I'm going to get your answer then, and then I'm going to tell you what he said. Do you think the Rodgers doppelganger at the game was a setup?
No.
You don't think so? Okay, so Rodgers was kind of...
No,
Rodgers
I saw that the guy was
around.
from Germany, so...
He was joking around, dude, and he was saying, like, man, that was a total setup by NBC. The camera looks at him, and he looks at the camera, and he points at him, and he's like, they were looking at me for a few minutes, and they go right to him, how they know where he was exactly, and I'm just like, oh, man. And I don't know, Rodgers is kind of smart, so I kind of trust him. I don't know. That guy was trending on Twitter, though. Did you see that?
Yep, he was, yep. They were trying to find... I think his name was Frank, is what I saw.
Yeah. What a random name. Hey, you're Frank, huh?
Yeah, this is Frank from Germany. He kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers.
So here's my next thing. Okay. So chunk plays over 40 yards, big plays, game-changing plays, momentum plays, whatever you want to call them. They've kind of been an issue, I would say, the last 2 games. So against the Rams, they gave up a 79-yarder and a 54-yard touchdown. Against the Bears, Grant had a 46-yard touchdown. Demir Bird had a 54-yard touchdown. And then Grant had that 97-yard punt return. Is chunk plays going to remain an issue? How do we stop those? Is it something that you're worried about in the playoffs because our special teams has been so bad? If you combine the 2, that's kind of a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
So, speaking specifically on the chunk plays, I think a lot of that falls on special teams, especially obviously the punt return touchdown. So the other chunk plays, the Demir Bird touchdown was That was 2 yards away from Devons Ray Campbell, Ray Lewising him. Devons Ray Campbell was just a couple steps off. And then one of the other deep plays that they had was Darnell Savage just cheating up. It was, let's see, shortly after, I think it was the possession after the pick six. So it might have been even on the touchdown. But Darnell Savage cheated up just a little bit. That must have been on one of the longer passes, but it was one of them. I'm drawing a blank on which play it was exactly. But Darnell Savage cheated up, and that gave Chicago the opportunity to get a big play. So for me, if I had to say, I would say it's more of an isolated incident than an indication of the future.
Okay. That's how I feel too. I mean, if you really take away, so the Bears had 3 big plays, right? That's all their points basically, other than a couple field goals. When we really made them try to drive on us, they had a tough time. Man, I mean, I went over the first 4 drives of the second half. They got 7 yards on 11 plays. That's where, we were talking a little bit ago about last year's defense to this year's defense. Last year's defense, I went into the game, playoff games, the Rams and the Buccaneers, and I was like, man, if they can just get a few stops. This year, I look at our defense and I'm like, all right, so they're going to give us 3-4 stops. They're going to give us an interception. Rodgers is going to get the ball back. We're going to run the ball. We're going to control this game. I feel 100% different about this defense than last year's defense. I expect them to get stops, not hope for them to get stops. That's kind of where the context of the situation really, really takes shape, in my opinion. So I don't think chunk plays are going to be an issue either. A lot of it is on special teams, in my opinion, as well. Starting out in good field position. I mean, obviously, like you said, who the hell fields a punt at the 3? Nobody does that. That's like against the rules. They tell you to put your heels on the 10. But when you're a guy like Jakeem Grant, who has history of punt returns and getting good returns, he's one of those guys. He's one of those few guys, maybe 3, 4, 5 guys maybe in the NFL that you're kind of like, all right, we can kind of just let this guy do what he's got to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the second half, talking about the defense, the Bears' only second half points came with 1 minute and 24 seconds left.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more questions?
No, those are the questions I wanted. I really wanted your opinion on the chunk plays.
Okay, that's a good question. All right, so it seems like we're having a little bit of issues with the live, so we are going to end this broadcast and we're going to start a new one. So hopefully we can get back to live. So we will be back in just a couple minutes.
Okay.